Yes,
Minutes from last meeting.
yes, sir.
On the opposite side, I just asked the same.
Everybody had a chance to look at it.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion carried. Report from the meeting. Stephanie, you wanna go first?
Audit has not met. We met back in, my days are all running together. So it was September, was it September? Bad. We haven't met since our meeting to figure out who all was chair and all that. So we haven't had a reason to meet at this time.
Well, codes and zoning, we're starting on a few things. So I went ahead and all the members have now their own copy of both the city ordinances and the county ordinances for zoning. And we're working on residential at the moment on how to combine those. We're gonna try to combine both the city and the counties into one document. And so we started that process the last meeting. Also, before you is the table of use. This has come out of planning. Like I told everyone earlier, Brandon's already reviewed it once. I sent it back to him just before, so that everything that we go before full commission with, he's seen it, the actual copy that's gonna go forward. Still waiting on to hear back from him. I don't expect anything big because he's already seen it. We did make some changes. We added the key at the top so that you know, what the P's and the SE's, what all that means for the different zonings. That's also found on the very back also. This copy doesn't have it. Amy got to looking, and what she's done on a copy is she's on the very first of the chart where it has all your zonings across the top. So just to make it easier to look at, she went ahead and did that across on the other pages also, the other 3 pages. And it just kind of looks a little better. So that's the copy that will actually go before the commission. It doesn't change any of the wording or anything. It just makes it a little easier to reference. But that one, like I said, I brought a copy so everyone can look at that and kind of get familiar with it before it comes before the full commission. We're also working on the, and I already thanked everyone earlier for bringing it to my attention about the penalties for not posting the signs with that new fee chart that we're working on. Got that back to planning. Planning went back, we looked at the minutes, we had discussions about it. Apparently it got discussed, but neither GNRC nor Sam's office ever wrote that part up. It just got left off as they were doing everything. So they were able to add that on. That's at Brandon right now for his review. And then that should be coming before us here the next time we meet for next month's full commission there.
Any questions? Just one question. The last page, it's going back with transportation equipment manufacturing.
Yes.
Those are X's.
Yes.
Does that mean something different?
So the X's, that's not on the key there. I'll have to find out, honestly, because I can't remember if that on M1, without having to dig through and look it up, if that's not allowed in M1 completely, and that's what the X is there for, that it's only allowed in M2. But I'll verify that because that does need to be on the key. If they're gonna have some sort of mark there, that needs to be right there. That'll be a quick adjustment. We get that done before it goes before the full commission.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so this is our current zoning as it sits.
Correct, no changes made, just putting it into a table form, so it's quick reference for both the public and for us. The table really is more for us as commissioners, helping with rezoning decisions. The public, it's more the section 5050, where it actually now gives the warning zone of appeals a process. If something comes before us and it doesn't fall in an existing situation in zoning, it's already documented, okay, well now here's what happens. So that we're not just left in the lurch of, okay, well now I'll just put it wherever I want to. And
And this is the change.
that's the big change, yeah. And really it's the wording there for B, where it actually gives the Board of Zoning Appeals the authority to determine the proper purpose of the land use. They actually have legal authority to do that, or planning doesn't, so it's the best place for that decision to be made. Also, I think we really need to get our BZA educated to a little higher level so that they can really be qualified to make these decisions.
But what's our board is up to?
It's, March. Mr. Moreland has been doing this for a long time, but he's a very quiet man. He doesn't speak up much during meetings.
Freddie Banks is one.
Yeah.
And there was one other member who was missing at the last meeting.
Dwight Jewell, isn't he on it?
Dwight Jewell is supposed to be on it, but he hasn't been to the last 4 meetings, I was told. Apparently, he can't make it to Monday meetings for personal reasons, so. And there was one other member missing. But Mark has talked to me that he's feeling a little overwhelmed as the chairman, being new to it himself. And really, that we've got to have a strong, educated zoning appeals board, because they actually have legal authority to override ordinances. And that can be good and bad.
I talked to Mr. Geller, and if Mr. Jewell doesn't show up for the next meeting, reach out, sure. Any other questions? Leslie?
We have not met, the emergency services have not met, we have a meeting scheduled for the 18th. I have received no responses to the emails as far as requests for information. Hopefully they'll get it to me before the meeting. I assume all of you know that the brush truck was wrecked, and we have to, I assume the insurance is gonna cover that, right?
Don't know, but what's the time frame? You're in.
I know nothing. I've heard nothing.
Is it total?
I have no idea.
I stopped and talked with Jay that day to try to figure out, because I started getting phone calls about it, and they were just pulling it into the fire department bay when I was going by. Talking with him, he said it still runs, and you can't drive it because the front end's completely jacked up with the differential and all, but he said everything, the cab, the bed back, from behind you can't even tell it was wrecked. So it looks like it would be repairable. You might end up having to just take everything off and put it on a new chassis. I know we've had to do that for ambulances before. Maybe that would be a lot faster than 2 years, which is what it took us to get this in the first place. It'd be a lot cheaper than having to buy a new one. There has been things kicked around, and I really would like to, emergency services, let us look into viability, and if it's even feasible. But to try to, now that we have a brush truck, we don't usually have a ton of brush fires per se, but to be able to make it multi-use, since Matt was talking to me about Rescue 1 needing to be replaced shortly, maybe we can use that like a dual purpose. But I don't know how that works out. I don't know enough in that field to be able to say, that's something, we should do.
I'm not sure that we can, I don't know how it would work to use fire department equipment for rescue.
Yeah.
Cause they're not together,
And
and I don't know if that's not to say they won't be together in the future, but right now I don't know how that would work.
I can understand us keeping EMA separate, but rescue's volunteer also, so it's 2 volunteer departments.
I don't know the process of that either.
I know that they're getting ready to like the other side colors.
And see, I talked to Matt about that, because I've heard a ton of complaints. I personally think it's terrible.
Supposedly, when the state somewhere up the line approves changing it, which they did, supposedly you're committed to doing it that way on all your other ambulances. The next
Fluid has to match.
I have heard that.
Fluid has
But he admitted it was a mistake on the color. He was wanting the color that Sumner County has on their bus. That's the color he wanted, and it was a Ford color, and they ended up putting down the wrong color code, and now we got a black.
Before we do it,
that was presented to
it
us.
really needs to be looked into.
Yes, that's what, yes.
But you think it needs to be looked into before we,
It was already ordered.
Can we not just paint the black one to match the other ones?
well, if we could get approval from the state, I think, yeah, that would seem like more sensible.
So where I was gonna go with that, I think we put in a policy, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if we ever got it finished, about color vehicles for, county vehicles going forward. And that they would be white and labeled with X, Y, and Z, stripe, certain,
Like
seal.
certain- Yeah, a certain seal of what they were.
I don't know if we finished that.
I don't know either, but I know it was.
The approval came across my desk today for $5,000 to go ahead and do it, and I'm gonna check around with Kirby tomorrow, because he's the one who told me about once someone up the ladder, the state approves it, when you're committed to it, let me contact somebody, see if we can't get it.
I think it's.
Yeah. I think it looks bad. It's hard to see at night too.
Oh,
A
it
lot
is.
of people don't like it.
If someone pulls in behind, if
Complaints.
they pull in behind you, you don't know it's emergency.
Another issue was brought to my attention today via email, and we can discuss it here. We'll discuss it at the EMS committee too. But Beatty wants to allow volunteers to drive the ambulance. Volunteer rescue, volunteer firemen, in case both paramedics, in case the patient is critical and both paramedics need to be in the back, they could use a volunteer to drive the ambulance. I don't know if our insurance covers that. I don't know, Mr. Beller's opinion, the policy provision referenced in your email was approved by the county commission and the interpretation appears clear as to intent. I'm not aware of exceptions. So it seems to me that Mr. Beller thinks that it's not okay for a volunteer to drive the ambulance.
I can't imagine insurance covering it if the policy says you can.
So my question is, the firemen and rescue are volunteers. So are they not covered to drive?
They are.
So that's that policy he's speaking of?
I don't know. This is literally, he got it for personnel. We just got this today. So I'm just bringing it to y'all because I don't know.
In discussion with other counties, what I have heard is that in a dire emergency, you can grab anybody to go, but unless it's an emergency, you can't just be.
Well, I mean, I guess my thought is if there is a critical patient, why is the EMS director not driving the ambulance or assisting in the back and having one of the paramedics drive? Why are there not other employees on site to drive?
I thought that's what you pay, chief follows or whatever.
Right. I mean, I thought there would be other staff members.
And if we're already paying 200, hours of overtime, apparently they've got people there, we're paying for them. Whether it needs to be in both, emergency services and in budget and finance, but that's just, because it's continuing, it hasn't stopped.
I think that's all I have. That's all I have on
How is it? Are they still short?
I went out and talked with him, and he said, yeah, he's still short, EMTs. He only has 2 paramedics, which is his biggest problem. And that's why he says they're getting all the overtime, because that, you only got 2, he's running one on one ambulance and one on the other. Because there's some codes EMT can take care of, just, transport, but if it's actually life threatening, you gotta have that higher level.
So he
of
only
care.
has 2 EMTs, two paramedics?
2 paramedics.
And so the battalion chiefs are not paramedics?
I think they're the only ones who are paramedics.
Okay.
I believe that was the understanding after the conversation. And so, I mean, all I know is we might be a little hearts full, and everyone keeps talking about how we're not paying our guys enough. But when you're getting 200 hours of overtime, I've already talked with Ken Weiner over at Sumner. None of his guys get even close to that. So they're making a ton more money in Trousdale County. If we're gonna be paying, cut them back, hire 2 more and pay them only 100, and now we're paying close to the same, but you're making plenty more than you would anywhere else, and we don't have a problem getting somebody, I wouldn't think. It seems just poor management in my mind.
I tend to, all things, supposedly, the raises for emergency, or some of the
Here we've hired anybody, that's the same. Yeah. We were told they only had 8 people, 8 employees when we needed 18.
I asked him, because I sat down, I didn't go up there. I just went and sat down and talked with him on emergency services now. I ought to have an idea of what's going on, and I'll be on the oversight committee, and just had a conversation with him. And I asked him, so, are you posting jobs? Are you actively looking? Well, we've talked to a different, we've had some, and it was very general, very vague. It doesn't look like he's in, it's a high priority for him based on the conversation. And maybe that might have just been the conversation, but to me, if I'm a manager of a group of a facility of any kind, I'm running 2 individuals getting 200 hours of overtime. That's time and a half. Or they just get to it in a 2-week period. That can't be safe for the staff doing it. That's not physically responsible as a manager. There's just so many negatives to that situation. I don't even know if it's legal. Because to get that many hours, that's 24-hour shifts for 2 weeks. You're living there.
There should be some policy after 48 hours.
I'm sure,
I don't know if that's written anywhere in policy or not.
I think that's state law.
I wonder if there's like
I
state law,
think
like
it would be
Tennessee Department of Labor
Yeah.
or OSHA even maybe.
Yeah,
So what kind of shift
or
does
it
he
might be
work?
under TOSHA.
I don't know.
He's a salary employee.
Salary employee.
But he still turns in the time sheet.
I'm sorry, what did you
I just said, what shift does he work? It sort of fills in, just here,
but he's salary, so he could work.
whenever.
Yeah.
He goes out on some of the others, but he's a salary employee, but he still fills out time sheet. We discussed that today.
I'm a salary employee at a private company, and they still do it based on so many hours.
I mean,
So I get that.
the boss, if there's nobody to cover, then he should be covering.
Well, I was dropping trash off at the convenience center that first big snow we got, and Cliff was working it. I was like, really? Why wouldn't you be, home? He's like, because I couldn't get anyone to come in. So it's either have trash all along the fence or come in and open it.
Cliff and Tracy both worked at the pool this summer
Yeah.
because there was nobody to block, So,
It just seems like we have a difference in management between our different departments. I had a ton of consistency with it.
I had a conversation, the county runs 2 trucks. We got 2 trucks.
ambulances.
The basic that you have on 2 trucks at a time is 6 full-time paramedics, 6 full-time EMTs, and had some PRN for those emergency situations. I think, see, I can't make it today. That's the numbers.
I don't have two.
Yeah, and we mentioned 18, did you say?
18 was the number he was told that
So that's where
staff's in.
that that's consistent with what you just said.
We were told he had 6.
But doesn't he still have just drivers?
Those are those drivers we hired on the,
Right.
Who are trying to become EMTs.
But they're just drivers, they're not,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be included in that, they're just extra.
I can tell you that we do have at least one volunteer.
He's driving the ambulance. Do we know if it's covered?
that'd be
Do
the
we know
next
if it's
big
covered
question.
on insurance?
Well, in an emergency, yes. I know when I brought that issue up, of course, those guys talk. It's kind of threw all right down at the fire department because they were afraid they weren't covered because they were volunteers, but it's still a fire department.
That's what
As far as volunteers.
We've had enough claims with the fire department, it's been proven whether they're covered or not.
Right.
What we think a volunteer driving the ambulance currently is covered.
For emergency, if there's an emergency
For
situation.
emergency. But if
What
it's happening
indicates
once
an
or twice
emergency?
a week,
That's
then
what I was getting at. What indicates an emergency?
I would think it would be bad if you didn't have anybody else to go. That's the way
I think we need to look carefully into that policy. We don't need a $300,000 ambulance in a
I'll put
red
it on a list for the,
that does not
the committee.
cover. I think it was about 330 grand. Something around there.
Again, I'll call around for you about this before we release the money to repaint that and
It's all the other counties is predicting like we are shorthand. I know Wilson County was, but then they started hiring people to train and.
I'm like, y'all talk to Widener, he doesn't have an issue going on. I don't know. Glenn Widener's from Calvin.
it's tight, but it seems to be tighter for us at this. Emergency issues.
That's what starts to.
And let's face it, when it comes to law enforcement and for EMTs, we've always been a training group. Even back when you were in the sheriff's department, you train a guy in, he stays, 2-3 years, and then he goes off to national. And that's fine. That's all we can afford, and that's, great. Then let's at least be able to recoup some money, to be able to keep them long enough to recoup the money we spend on their training.
Well, we just finished those
Just
places,
finished.
we just finished those places where we had.
Don't they have to stay here? Isn't that part of the,
If they went to that schooling
If they,
process.
well,
we pay for it at school?
one does, but do we ever pay for the other one? One is already an employee.
Yeah.
And then one is a volunteer firefighter, I believe.
And you probably know that better than.
Yeah, and he wanted to be paid,
He was questioning being reimbursed.
no,
Now, that one hasn't been,
he wanted to be paid for like a day, like a call, like
Yeah.
every single day.
that he was in
Right.
class. Yeah, that one, because that got brought up in discussion, but that's not policy, that was never.
Right.
But we paid for his class. We paid for the school?
Not for the volunteer.
The cost of the school, possibly, because we do pay for training.
I mean, so if we paid for his school, for the class, then,
Jack, if you don't mind, just have Amy come in, because she'll have the information.
I know some pay for their training, some don't.
So when did y'all's next
We had
emergency
two
social meeting? I was thinking,
That applied for that program that we put in place, which paid for their schooling and paid them as if they were on the clock
One of them is.
during class.
And that was one of them that was already working.
and they were already,
As a driver.
they're already employees of EMS?
One is,
They had to be employees of EMS or employees of the county
for it to be paid
or
for.
to be paid for. They had to be employees of the EMS.
The
Yeah,
other
but we
one
had
I
one
was-
was a driver, and he was trying to get his EMT. I said, anything you'll know.
Burton said he wasn't.
hey, y'all was talking about the board of zoning appeals. I pulled up Mark Presley's chair, Freddie Banks' vice chair, the White Bill was secretary, Corey Limble and Ron Moreland. That was the members on it.
Who are
Corey
they again?
Limble?
Okay.
Mark Presley's chair, Freddie Banks vice chair, the Whitefield secretary, Corey Limble, and Ron Moreland. That's the left board up on this, the zoning fields.
I'm happy with this.
My question is, on the EMS training, EMT training that just happened, did some of them pay for their training and we pay for some, is that correct?
We paid for 2 of our employees, which was Dakota Morgan and Kirk Sutherland. And they are the drivers over at the EMS. We did not pay for anybody else associated with our service,
So now they are certified.
if they pass their certification. I have not heard if they have passed
And Jay had asked that we possibly pay
for the volunteer
per
firemen.
incident for each time they came. That kind of came at the.
That wasn't one of the individuals that was in the program through the county.
That wasn't.
He paid for his class.
The volunteer
The follow-
firefighter.
Yes.
Yes, the firemen paid for their class. We did not pay for anything on theirs. We did not pay a per diem for them to attend the class.
There was just one of them that wasn't in that right.
I know
Okay.
definite one.
And both of them want to be paid per day?
They
As
did
an
not,
incident?
the volunteers themselves did not request that. Chief Woodard came in and requested that after.
And actually, it was 2 or 3 days before they were all to be paid, and so it kind of came in late.
That conversation came up,
At budget.
at budget, but it came up, the question was asked, if you remember, Mr. Buckmaster asked if when we put this piece in policy, because he knew there was an individual that would want to go with that, reasoning that they were asking to be paid. The way that grant was written, when we wrote that piece through, it couldn't come out of it that route. So it kind of came up like literally just thrown back up.
But that's not been approved to pay them.
The funding from ARPA funds was only for employees to take the EMT certification.
We had that discussion.
An official number on how many employees Matt has, as far as paramedics, EMTs, and drivers.
Not off the top of my head.
The last time all of us have been given been about 6. He told me he had 2 paramedics in that group, so.
Not off the top of my head.
So this brings back another question to me. What did it cost us to send the 2 individuals that are, we have a minimum,
3,000 each.
so we paid $3,000 a piece.
That was just for the class.
That's just for the class.
And then they got their regular pay,
So what did it cost us?
whatever their normal rate of pay is.
Right.
Can we get a total cost?
I can get that for you, not tonight, but I can.
Yeah, that'd be something to look at right here and see. Because if we've got some other individuals that we're in that much need, there may be I'd rather those individuals stay in our county than I would go to another county to work.
But is it not part of the policy that they have to stay here
That's
and
what I was
work?
getting ready to say, the 2 we paid for.
The one
is
What
that-
we pay for, they have to stay here and work for 2 years or
Is that
whatever.
it?
Or
2 years?
the other community could pay them where they live and pay us back.
Yeah, they have to
That's
pay
why
back,
we didn't know what the cost was, but then he was paying back $3,000.
they gotta pay back their rate of pay.
That's my memory is y'all did that.
Yeah.
Anything else on emergencies?
That's what I thought.
So when's y'all's
I mean, there's
next meeting?
January 18th.
Okay, finance.
So finance hasn't met since our last meeting here, if I'm correct. We met back in December there, but we already had that meeting, so that's right. So we do have a meeting called for the 17th, which is the day, the same day of the work session, which we'll look at, so we're gonna dig back into the budget pieces. We really haven't looked at those in a while. I've got to look back at that committee as well as finance. I gotta think about it. I think it's also, our committee also has purchasing on there as well in that committee, so we need to look at this. Purchasing hasn't been looked at since October. So there's some other pieces we probably need to put into place. So we may have to call the purchasing inside that in the future to give us a little time to look back at, and then we can put that purchasing at a regular, simple quarterly or something of that nature. But at this point, that's where finance is at right now. Really ready to start digging in, to conversations that are already coming our way. It appears there's dollars.
This will be
spent.
on finance, on the agenda, right?
What's that?
The fire department, the volunteers that wanna be paid.
I don't think I wanna put it on the agenda yet, to be honest with you. I don't know those costs at this point, but that's it.
Yeah, the sheriff's gonna be asking.
Or
He's
maybe some
short
share.
4, or he's wanting 4 more.
Or 4 more, not short 4. I don't agree.
He's short that, but he's done.
But maybe some time to start sharing some cars instead of home. I get what you're saying. Maybe some time to start sharing some cars. It's a night shift, a day shift, if time to swap the heat was out. I don't know, well, we've been in enough departments.
It's got pros and cons both of them. I mean, most of the departments now are letting up, I mean, like Gallatin's, Lebanon's, I even say Portland, they let them all drive their car home as part of a perk to keep them. I mean, that's
That's what this is, things we're gonna do.
I mean, it's, you know,
Those are not just one-time fixed commodities, they are going to have costs regular, and they're gonna have.
is he showing that he's got more calls, that he's needing 4 more deputies, or?
Yeah, because of the growth on the west part of the county.
We've got fewer patrol
This
officers
seems like
now
a
than we
lot.
ever had.
If you think about it,
4 in any given shift, now we have
Shifts.
2 and a supervisor.
the number it takes, that doesn't necessarily give rotation. You can't have one in and benefit anything. I know it sounds like, I know when you think about it, when you're thinking about shifts, you have to fill each spot of those shifts. Or you look at 200 hours of overtime. Just saying.
Which is not okay, no matter what department
I
it is.
didn't say it was okay, I'm just saying it's.
Is that your report, Mr. Willie?
That is my report.
On the
Before it gets any deeper.
on the fee table that's gonna be coming up from Mr. Beller, does Budget and Finance wanna take a look at that for the rezonings and whatnot? Rosalie is also, to go along with that, those fees are based on Cheatham County's schedule. She also pulled Wilson and Cannon and Smith, I believe, Watertown. She pulled Watertown. So I can pass that along that way you've got a reference of multiple jurisdictions to.
Were there any counties similar to ours? To a full from?
Cheatham, and, I mean,
Cheatham's pretty large.
yeah, I mean,
Are
I
all
can,
grown.
yeah, I don't really have one around the Nashville area to compare us to.
Like a Smith County or like us.
I mean, like I said, you got Watertown, Cannon County, I mean, that's still, I mean, that's just outside Murfreesboro, so that's kind of, it's still rural. But they're getting a lot of expansion on their western side out of Murfreesboro. But I can pass that along information, but because it's fee oriented, I thought it might be something that Budget and Finance wanted to look at, especially since you guys were discussing possibly looking at raising the impact fee and how that could work. And that way y'all knew what was coming. And if y'all are working on helping set the fee schedules, then everything kind of goes through the same group, setting fees, and we're not overcharging, or double charging. That makes sense.
Let me think on that one, because this is right. Like my thoughts right now, that's really not a budget piece. We look at what dollars are being spent, what dollars are coming in, what dollars are going out. Oh, wait.
I'll just give you one.
I appreciate, yeah, I'm just trying to think of the pieces.
Yeah.
I don't wanna walk into something that you don't need to walk.
That's fine.
necessarily walk
And I don't
into.
want to bog any of the other committees down, I just want to have as many eyes on stuff as possible.
Mhm.
Since
I get
it's
what you're saying there,
fee-based.
it's always a good piece.
Do you know if we got any,
Personnel.
we got,
Yes.
we got any budget amendments coming up for employees? I mean, any big deals coming? Any budget amendments we're gonna be losing?
Can't have any budget limits. As much as I had any, right to.
Yes.
Personnel committee has not met since our organization meeting. We have, next meeting, we January 11th, 6:00. I know you're at the mayor's office. I mean, the process of setting an agenda for that meeting, items of interest, one come from the last executive meeting. trying to get information about the charge-off policy with the EMS.
It's on my agenda.
As Leslie mentioned, she now rejects an email this morning, concerning another policy issue. That will at least be on the agenda as well. Of course, I'll be reaching out to each other member of that committee, via text or phone call, for their input on any other item that they want to discuss. We haven't met since organizational meeting.
Can you let me know what y'all decide on the volunteer stuff, so we can talk about it in the EMS tonight?
Also, Will, in the conversation I had with Matt, I asked who was on that oversight committee, and we found in the policy it's supposed to be overseeing the charge-offs. It's Matt, Teresa, who does the charge-offs, and the mayor. That's the group. And they don't meet.
That was gonna be, I was gonna have you met.
I don't see how it's,
I don't either. How do you have oversight over what you're doing?
if you're the one charging it off, you shouldn't have any authority for this charge off.
Yeah.
What the approval process. It's got to be two pieces.
Actually, from an accountability standpoint, there should be a report every month as to, what's collected.
I have absolutely asked for that for every month from last year. I have asked for what was billed, what was collected, and what was charged off.
And actually, there should be a report every month, how it runs.
I asked for that as well.
Cost calls. Someone should be able to see that.
And I think that will be what we do, the EMS committee will do that every month. I will request that every month from them. I don't know what authority I have, if they don't give it to me, what I do.
Well,
You would
the
go to
can
the
has been
law.
kicked down the street to the law. So
Can that not be put into a part of the ordinance that goes on the county that have to be put, if we just do that personnel policy? Yes. Yes, that'd be part of our policy.
I mean, as far as
I mean,
it
I'm
goes,
pretty sure it already is, that's what the EMS committee is oversight for emergency services.
I'm saying in the policy that this is turned in.
These specific things is what needs to be turned in and,
You don't
Well, and I
wanna
mean-
get too specific and you miss the train.
as
I understand.
law enforcement could even have to do that as well. I mean, I don't think that that's a
Absolutely.
bad idea.
To at least have some sort of quarterly accounting, so
Right.
that we're not getting all at once at budget and finance of the new budget.
We've requested that happens quarterly from education.
And I think, was that in ours or is that state that, because that was something that just got started up under Stephen, he happened to find it.
What's that?
The quarterly report from the
Okay,
Board of Education, so that's a county thing?
and that was a county piece under the, at that time, that's when the education committee had been put in for.
So is that something we can just amend and add emergency services to? And so the full commission would get a quarterly report, and then EMS, because it's an oversight committee, gets a monthly. And that way there, you've got that oversight right there in place.
It should be a best practices in
Yeah.
the first place. I mean, you shouldn't have to spell out
Exactly.
what your job's supposed to be if you're the director of that department.
And well-run businesses, running to keep up with.
The definition of the committees that we had, does that not state that and cover that? I mean, that was an ordinance when we established the committees. So would that not be in that ordinance that it covers that? I mean, it doesn't specifically say,
It covers oversight, so anything that we request as far as the running of the department is oversight.
maybe that ordinance is already in place, maybe we can use that ordinance as, this is what you need to do, because
Just committees is.
this is the committees that we set up, and this is what they're supposed to do, so this is our authority, because this is the ordinance. Sorry, I hijacked.
You're fine, you're fine. Mr. Griggs.
We haven't had a meeting, but I do have one scheduled for January the 12th. We've got to start talking about the pool. That's the first thing, getting ready to open, usually open in May, and we've probably got a lot of work to do. We need to try to find find somebody to really, if y'all got any ideas, we need somebody to run it like I said, we talked about a teacher or something, or we gotta have an adult.
An adult.
Yeah. And I hadn't talked to Cliff on any other thing, I'll talk to him, and see if he, when they put anything else on here. I hadn't had any updates on the lights at the ball field, and I didn't know if they all, is everything. I hadn't talked to him.
Progress. They are. We met with Kenny Horn last week, the week before, about, there used to be a pool that you bought equipment from. That's right, where
The same one we bought into a couple of years ago.
for some reason, almost the state is not allowing you to do that now, but they're beginning to move to a buying equipment.
I did go out to the dump yesterday to take some, you talking about slams, they didn't have no room to put nothing there, so they had a backhoe out there trying to big stuff down where
Me
they,
and Bubba were having the same time.
it was bad, man. But they was doing all they could do, doing the best they could do, I appreciate the work that Cliff does and what they do out there.
We're always focused on emergency services and the police department, but public works is drowning. And I talked to Cliff, so why are you here? It's day before Christmas Eve. Why are you here versus everyone else? And he's like, well, the honest truth is, the guy that was supposed to come says he couldn't make it out because of the weather, and none of the other guys will come. I was like, well, then you start firing people. He said, David, I gotta have warm bodies. He's like, the ones who don't show up, I don't count on them, and so when they are here, at least I have somebody, to give the ones who are working a break. The problem with that is you run off your good workers because
Exactly.
they're tired of not getting the slack that everyone else gets.
He does things like replace radiators and trucks. He has to set the county line.
Yeah, he does.
And he
He tries
I
very hard.
appreciate everything you do.
Absolutely, we appreciate it, but he shouldn't have all that he's got on.
But he's not the squeaky wheel. Well, let's be honest.
He's
You
got
rarely ever hear him
He's
complain.
got Gage Freeman second in command to take some of the heat off. He really needs.
They probably need more involved, too, on why you have to talk to him, say how much I short-handed he is.
Let's face it, his employees are cheaper than law enforcement.
I know it, hey, money.
Okay, on the mayor's report. Of course, the big issues of jail. We met with Spirit Architect firm this week. What seems to me happened when the original committee were working on the jail and doing a lot of traveling and a lot of trips, they really didn't keep very many people in the loop with this, what was going on.
No, it's just that group.
The number that kept being thrown around was 25 million. We met with Mr. Robertson, and we looked at that 25 million figure, 4.5%, which was the last. He was looking at 20 about paying 2 million, which.
That was just interest. That wasn't any principal.
That was 4.5. No, it's a 20-year payout, 4.5%, 4.5% interest. When I talked to, we talked with Mike from Spirit, told the kind of situation, maybe we should approach this from what we can afford with this much money. He suggested that on January 31st, we have a meeting in the community center from like 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, a general brainstorming session about what we could afford, what we could do, and have, and this didn't happen the last time I got on. And the judges weren't consulted, Kim Tyler wasn't consulted, all the players really weren't consulted on that building.
I thought there was.
It was supposed to be. You talk to them.
They weren't, because they didn't even think about computer terminals and running wires to the building, we just.
I thought they did. Got some input from them. They didn't.
Not as much as they needed.
Okay.
So he was
First thing, you got
suggesting
microphones,
that we
right?
have, 4 to representative of the sheriff's department, Kim Taylor, 4 judges. Somebody from the DA's office, he wanted to stable for it, that was, he even talked about, he said that he didn't mind being a facilitator and just kind of get this thing out on the table and say, what are our options? You know, what we'll put a meeting on, what will 10 meeting on? You talk about you can have 20% over that. So if you look at 10, it's probably how to finance it. I mean, discuss all these issues. So that's on January 31st from 9 to 3. We suggested we provide lunch, chicken salad.
I have no problem doing that, however, I think it's a conflict of interest.
Probably not.
Actually, it is.
I really think it is, for me to make money off the county, for
Because-
any commissioner to
We
make
weren't
money
gonna
off the
pay you.
county.
We were,
I'm not doing it for free.
no,
I'm kidding.
from a county standpoint,
We met,
we ran into this with the county.
We can check with Beller.
County employees working side jobs.
we can go another, anyway, we can, whatever. But that meeting would be, let's get out on the table. And I did talk to him in terms of property rates down there across the street. He said you almost need 300 feet, which you would have across the street if you include the tree line. You may not have 300 feet between the two. Then another option would be go out and buy your 20 acres and just build a jail. Then you got a transportation problem. That's one prison. But we almost have to.
I think that's where you always have to look at
Definitely,
it.
absolutely.
Because I can tell you and check with these other counties that cost them running, they run into station or Chief County, they had 61 million, 200 million.
How that thing's there, they got more tax revenue.
Hey, they just sent the fire and architect after 2 years. You can get bogged down in one of these situations. They told the firm to come back 6 months, price it again, they couldn't swim that.
So I don't know how that number, you just get four of these big, small counties like ours, man.
Gene, sheriff's telling me today that Clay, we had a 20-bed facility.
I know, they just built a new jail up there, and I was wondering how they pay for theirs, but I mean, they, like I said, they got that.
But I think that meeting is very important. It'll answer a lot of questions.
It's hard for me to make it, I can work it.
How are you gonna, some questions of thought there for that question, you gonna put an outline out prior? Here's topics, here's where we're headed, conversation pieces that we wanna,
He'll just put together
an outline of whatever.
bullet points or whatever, this is what we want to be discussing.
You're gonna invite sheriff's department, how you gonna ensure that they show up?
That they will show up, everybody may not show up. But at least they have an opportunity. And you know, if 3 out of 4 show up, they would maybe tell you. But he just thought we ought to have a general
Bring together bids.
discovery session of here's where we are, what do you need, and can we do it there?
What do you need versus what do you want? What are the necessities versus what
So
do you
Mr.
want?
Roberts kind of gave us a reality check.
Very quick reality check, $2 million a year.
Will tax income.
Fuel tax covers every $10, about $90,000.
I asked a
Question. Do you know how many?
I don't know, I have to check on that.
I run the number on it, just saying there was, say there's 10,000 vehicles. $125 real tax, which is high, that's still only $1.4 million. Still have to touch the two.
When the fuel tax went out this year, we were, every $10 was worth 90,000.
I want to say it's like
391. What, the last full year at $40, it's 300.
Just want to say about 90,000.
Did a little bit more than that, there was some commission.
tax just
Roughly
cost me
$10,000.
Yeah, I gotta get to you with this $5 this month.
But that requires, you're only gonna do that once, the state's gonna kick their fees back.
In July, so we should have a wheel tax ready to go
That's
back in,
$900 for $100.
in my opinion.
Except for my singles.
Or we can do it before, that way that first one's not
That's
something.
something, we gotta be discussing if we're going through that, man, we gotta come up,
Absolutely.
we gotta come up with something for it to go to, man.
Jesus, $40,000.
I hate to bring up an unpopular subject, but, how good could we be at tightening our business? I sign a lot of checks. That's one thing I didn't anticipate for this job. I sign a lot of purchase orders, approve a lot of things that we spend, sign a lot of checks. It's interesting to see that.
Just in the department we discussed tonight, we've already discussed some inefficiencies in the department.
Well, and Wesley brought that up. That was a red flag that time. He just looked at our whole, that was a red flag.
Yeah, but even in his bringing that up, he stated that they can't even hire an individual that's willing to go out and look into those oversights. So that nobody's wanting to take on that.
Mhm.
So they know it's a problem, is what we're telling them. We know this is an issue, but we ain't gonna go dive into this issue because we already know it's a problem. I mean, that's exactly what he was saying. Not the same words, but I mean, that's exactly what he said. We can't hire an individual that's willing to go and look into these and, even advise on them. So, tightening the belt seems like it's gonna have to somewhat happen, but, what needs to be tightened?
I mean, the water department's the only one that's not an actual drain on the county budget right now. I mean, every other department, it's nothing but a drain.
But we don't have anything to do with the water department.
We're not, well, I don't think we should, but yeah, this last little bit, it's become, the county's kind of stepped back in as an overseer, which I think.
Are they completely separate?
They were.
Are they not?
When,
Then they got talked back into coming back underneath the county, under Harold Carmen's administration, so that they could, because they were told that was the only way they could get certain grants.
are you sure that's the reason, or was we told it could be sold out from under us and it was in debt, about to go bankrupt?
That is the information I was given.
I think, to dig into that, it was brought back under the county because it was at a point it could be sold. We were told, hey, it's an own entity, it could be sold out, literally to a private company, and then we're not even dealing with our own money, grants and things, and money the county's put into that. So there was some more behind that than the
What
original.
has the county put into it?
They're self-sufficient by statute.
What has the county put into it? It's a question.
We better go back and look at that a little deeper.
Yeah.
In that same time frame, the county had to bail out some pieces,
What time frame is that?
16 and 17 range.
So talking with Amy from the accounting side, by statute, by state statute, they have to be self-sufficient. And Heather Bay also has made those comments. Didn't learn a little more about the water department if they're being on plan. Conversations with her. That's been very good.
On a side note, and that's something that I would like for us in the future to look at is who we are putting on some of these committees. That way we don't have many of the same ones in some of those committees. Does that make sense?
It is.
Without calling out names.
It does. It does.
At the
Just,
same
you know-
time, when you're strapped for qualified people to be on the committees, what are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying, I just think we need to, we just need to kind of look at those pieces.
I know personally, I've reached out to every eligible person I could think of from my graduating class and above and below me that are still around. So that's kind of that age group now that most of us are in. And I can't get anyone to even consider public office, either running for commissioner or being appointed. You're not even having to deal with being voted, but just to serve on a committee. So if we only have X amount of people who are willing to serve, we're kind of stuck.
You're talking about the dollars, it's fixing to be talking about $120, $150 piece, you're gonna have people start getting interested in finding out what they need to do.
Well, good. Let's start talking about it.
Yeah,
I think we are, and that's the parts that are gonna start getting the conversations.
Cause that's what I've been trying to use as a selling point of why they need to get involved. Cause y'all are not gonna be happy with what's coming down, and you're gonna wonder what was going, come on, now's the time to be getting involved in this stuff, and nobody cares, they're too busy.
I would like to hear more discussion on the water department. I've studied with the meetings, things of that nature. Charles County does have a huge asset that not everybody has. You sit on the river. What does it look like if we use that asset and sell water to counties that ain't sitting on the river?
Castaic Springs and Bethpage buys water from Gallatin right now,
And Macon County was in trouble with this.
Cause that's free price for us to.
but the majority they buy from Gallatin.
There was a discussion that,
We have a
Stephen had brought up about us becoming like a regional water department
That's in the works.
and pumping north.
That's in the works. That's what this 2.3 million is all about. Yes,
Wonderful.
Instead of self-sufficient, like the water department,
At the same time, I don't,
Using the
can that-
assets available.
using our
but can we as a county pull their money so that we've made them profitable?
Well, the last mayor's thought.
So where does that profit go? Does it stay in the water department?
I mean,
It's
that's
utility?
right, yeah, that's what I would think, that it stays at the water department.
So then it just lowers your water bill. We
Okay,
don't do
like, we
anything
can't
for-
tell the school what to do with their money, but we give them money. Do we give money to the water department? We approve their budget, but do we fund them? They're funded by their
They're
own.
self-funded.
Any other discussion?
On the jail discussion, we've always been talking about us paying for the building. Is there any further looking out to other options of private entity and us leasing or operating?
Well, I've talked to CoreCivic and they seem somewhat interested in possibly building the parts of the solution, but I don't have another meeting with the board until next week. At first they seem hauling out in, and then they kind of cool. That's
I mean, they're not the only,
us running, and us leasing.
they're not the only private, entity out there, so. Is that something?
Know what we need first. First conversation is what do we truly need? Here's what we need, then we gotta go have that
I
discussion.
will
where we
also
go.
tell you on that the last 2 times I've asked the jail with their census was pretty low.
Yeah.
In the 30s
So they're not over their limit or?
right now.
The females size was killing them.
Yes. Female size.
I don't think they got the 6 beds, maybe 3, and they stay over, but I mean, on the male side, I think they've been pretty good shape.
See, that's what got the state kind of leaning on was female population.
And we can't send the females to a different county?
Well, it would seem to me rather than spending 25 million, you could send 3 or 4 from time to time with these
Yeah.
agreements they have, more it's skin
When
cat.
and during COVID, they used that, the criminal justice centers got hold of themselves, and I mean, that's, they kept some up there, the ones that, new ones they was bringing in, they kept them up there to keep them out of the population, when COVID was so bad. So they got hold of themselves there, because when they take them to court, I'm like,
There were some issues with that because it, but, yeah. I just think we need to explore every avenue.
So we gotta know what we really need. First off. Well, I didn't truly realize we didn't have a needs assessment on it.
I was in
By
the
an
Justice
assumption we
Center, a couple weeks ago for jury duty. And, that's the first time I've been in there. I think it's great, and I think that we should somehow figure out some way to use that, to use.
yeah.
Expand it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we got too much,
I mean, there's a lot in that, and it's really nice. I was totally surprised when I did.
I've got thrown out the idea a time or two of actually using it for all the county commission meetings. You could have 2 meetings at the same time, subcommittees, 2 different boardrooms. If we're gonna build a full justice center somewhere else and not use those courtrooms, well,
I
you
think
can
that's,
use it for,
I think that's irresponsible to build a new justice center when we have a brand new one right there.
Yeah.
That's just fine.
But I think the lack of planning in building that one where it's located is what put us in the process when we were stuck.
I need an architect to tell me that they can't put a jail right there.
I'll give you floodplain zoning regulations.
Why can't we build it up?
Floodplain. That's not what it says. Well, that's always, I mean, it's gonna push more water over onto the ball fields when you do that.
I mean, leave it as a parking area on the bottom and go up. I mean, there's
You said
jails
the
all
key
over the
word,
state
now
that are 5-6 stories tall.
Well, that's a viable, putting a parking garage underneath it and, but I don't know how you are as far as ADA accessible. I think my index would be more expensive.
The architect said the key word was floodplain versus flow or something. See across the street's like.
But when the Justice Center sits now, is it gonna flood?
Is the Justice Center in floodplain?
That's,
No, the jail itself.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Of course the jail
But
is.
you know, when push came to shove, Mr. Bass said, don't tear that jail down. It was a great workhouse. He said, you can still use that. You can still get some value out of that building. So, it's not a
So
matter-
if you can still have a building there and use it in a floodplain, why can we not build one up and not have to buy property?
we're gonna discuss all that in that meeting on the 31st.
I'm not coming here, but I'm putting my mouth.
The questions need to be asked.
We don't have anybody here to make public comment, do we? So I'm assuming we could adjourn if all minds are clear. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Thank y'all for your time.